You ever had that moment where you wake up, stare at the ceiling, and say, "Today's the day everything changes"? You're motivated. You're locked in. Maybe you even write a to-do list, drink water like an influencer, and watch one of those rise and grind YouTube shorts. Then what happens? By the time 4 p.m. hits, you're on the couch again, scrolling TikTok with chip dust on your hoodie. You didn't go to the gym, you didn't start the business, you didn't finish the course, and deep down you're not even surprised. Why? Because this isn't the first time it's happened. In fact, it's probably the 10th. And it's not your fault the way you think it is. This is deeper than laziness. It's beyond just being disciplined. There's something going on behind the scenes, something inside your brain that doesn't want you to change. It's called a habit loop, and once it's burned into your neural wiring, it can override logic, willpower, and even motivation. Your brain's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to save energy by repeating patterns it already knows. And if you want to escape the loop, you have to understand what you're really fighting. But to see how the loop takes over your life, we need to look at where it starts. Imagine this. You walk into your kitchen, you're not hungry, you're not even thinking, but you open the cabinet and grab a cookie. Why? You didn't decide to do it. Your brain automated it. This is the habit loop in action, and it works like a machine with 3 moving parts: cue, routine, reward. Let's break it down. The cue is the trigger. It can be anything: a time of day, a place, a feeling, a person, a smell. Your brain links it to a behavior. In the cookie example, the cue could be boredom, the sight of the kitchen, or even just walking by that one cabinet. The routine is the behavior itself. Grabbing the cookie, biting your nails, checking your phone. It's the action your brain has wired in as the go-to response for that cue. The reward is what your brain gets out of it: a hit of dopamine, a sense of comfort, a moment of distraction. It doesn't have to be logical. It just has to feel good for a second. Now here's where it gets dangerous. Once the brain detects a reward after a routine, it starts craving that reward when the cue appears. So now every time you walk into that kitchen, your brain goes, "Cookie time?" Even if you don't want it. Even if you know it's sabotaging you. Because to your brain, the habit loop isn't about what's right, and it's about what's predictable, what saves energy. The worst part? Once a habit loop is formed, it doesn't go away. It gets stored in a part of your brain called the basal ganglia, the same part that helps you ride a bike or type without thinking. That's why changing habits isn't about removing the loop. It's about rewriting it. But that's easier said than done, because the thing reinforcing this loop is also your brain's most addictive chemical. To understand how deep this goes, we need to talk about dopamine. You've probably heard of dopamine. Most people call it the feel-good chemical, but that's not really what it does. Dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about anticipation. It's the chemical that tells your brain, "That thing you just did, do it again." So every time you experience a reward, whether it's taking a bite of pizza, finishing a level in a game, or getting a like on a post, dopamine floods your brain like a green light. It doesn't care if the thing is good for you. It only cares if it made you feel something. That's why we get addicted to things we don't even like. Doom scrolling, junk food, late-night binge sessions. They all spike dopamine just enough to keep the cycle going. And here's the kicker. Your brain learns to expect that dopamine hit. Even the cue alone, not the reward, just the cue, can cause a dopamine spike. Think about it. You hear the notification sound from your phone. You haven't even looked yet, but your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. And once that reward pathway is lit up, your brain will go into autopilot to chase that feeling again. That's how powerful dopamine is. Now imagine trying to fight that with willpower. Willpower is like a tiny flashlight in a thunderstorm. It works in short bursts, but it drains fast. That's why you can be super motivated at 9 a.m. and completely crash by 3 p.m. Because the real battle isn't against bad habits. It's against a brain that's hardwired to keep doing what gave it dopamine, even if that thing is destroying your focus, your health, or your potential. But your brain isn't broken. It's just efficient. It's trying to conserve energy by forming routines that work. If you want to escape that cycle, you have to override it. And that starts with one of the most important parts of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, your command center. Picture your brain like a car. The basal ganglia is cruise control. Automatic, energy-saving, habit-driven. But the prefrontal cortex, that's the driver's seat. It's where decisions get made, goals are set, impulses are controlled. Long-term thinking lives here. And when you're trying to change your life, and when you're trying to break a habit, build a new one, or resist temptation, it's this part of your brain that does all the heavy lifting. There's just one problem: it gets tired fast. Unlike the habit-forming part of your brain, which runs on instinct, the prefrontal cortex runs on effort. And effort is expensive. Let's say you want to stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. Every time you resist the urge to scroll, your prefrontal cortex is working hard. And after a few hours of making decisions, staying focused, and trying to do everything right, it wears down. This is called decision fatigue. And once your prefrontal cortex is tapped out, your brain hands the wheel back to the basal ganglia, your old habits. That's why most people don't fail their goals at 10 a.m. They fail them at 9 p.m. You had a long day. You used your brain all day. You made 100 tiny decisions, and now your willpower's on empty. So what do? You order fast food instead of cooking. You skip the gym. You open TikTok, just for a second. And then, just like that, the habit loop kicks back in. So, what's the solution? You can't rely on willpower alone. Instead, you have to design your life in a way that reduces the strain on your prefrontal cortex and gradually transfers healthy habits into your basal ganglia. The goal isn't to force yourself to choose the right thing. The goal is to make the right thing easier to choose. But before you can do that, you have to start with something most people skip entirely: self-awareness. Let's be real. Most people try to change their habits like this. Step 1. Get super motivated. Step 2. Make a giant list of all the things they need to fix. Step 3. Try to do it all at once. Step 4. Burn out by day 3. Step 5. Feel like a failure. Step 6. Repeat. This doesn't work, not because you're lazy, but because your brain isn't built to handle massive, sudden change. It's built for patterns. Slow, repeated, low-resistance actions. So, if you actually want to change your habits, you need to play by your brain's rules. Here's how. 1. Identify the cue. Every habit starts with a trigger. Your job is to figure out what that trigger is. Are you eating junk food every night? Ask, what happens right before that? Are you glued to your phone in the morning? What's the first thing you feel when you wake up? Maybe it's stress. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's just the time of day. Once you spot the cue, you're no longer on autopilot. You're watching the loop form in real time, and that gives you power. 2. Replace the routine. Keep the reward. Here's the key to rewiring a habit. You don't kill the craving, you redirect it. Let's say your cue is boredom. The routine is scrolling social media. The reward is stimulation. What if, instead of scrolling, you walked around the block, or did 10 push-ups, or read a page from a book? It's not about being perfect. It's about giving your brain a new routine that satisfies the same itch, but in a healthier way. The trick is to start ridiculously small. Don't say, I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes a day. Say, I'm going to sit still for 1 minute. 1 minute sounds easy. That's the point. Your brain won't resist something that feels effortless. Over time, that 1 minute turns into 5, then 10. And before you know it, the new routine has become automatic. 3. Stack your habits. Want to make a new habit stick? Attach it to something you already do. This is called habit stacking. Here's how it works. After I brush my teeth, I'll do 10 squats. While I make coffee, I'll listen to 1 page of an audiobook. When I close my laptop at work, I'll write down 3 things I did well today. The brain loves connections. So when you tie a new habit to an existing one, you're not building from scratch, you're upgrading the loop. 4. Make the habit obvious, easy, and rewarding. James Clear said it best. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. If you want to build a new habit, make it obvious. Put it in your face. Leave the book on your pillow. Put the dumbbells next to the couch. Lower the barrier to entry. Don't aim for 100 push-ups, aim for 1. Rewarding. Celebrate even the smallest wins. Your brain needs that dopamine hit to reinforce the loop. But even with all of this in place, there's one more piece most people overlook. Your environment. Because if your space is working against you, even the best habits won't stand a chance. And to understand why that matters so much, we have to look at how your surroundings shape your behavior, often without you even realizing it. Here's a brutal truth. You are not stronger than your environment. You could have the best intentions in the world, but if your surroundings are set up to sabotage you, your habits don't stand a chance. Think about this. If your phone is next to your bed, you'll check it before you even sit up. If junk food is the first thing you see when you open the fridge, you'll grab it. Not because you want it, but because it's there. If your workspace is chaotic, your focus will be too. The cues in your environment silently shape your behavior, not because you're weak, but because your brain is constantly scanning for the path of least resistance. So, if you want to change your habits, change the cues around you. Design for success. Here's how to make your environment work for you. Want to work out more? Lay out your clothes the night before. Put your shoes by the door. Remove every excuse between you and movement. Want to eat better? Put healthy snacks in plain sight. Want to read more? Keep a book on your pillow. Turn reading into the default, not the exception. This isn't about being obsessive, it's about being intentional. You're not setting goals anymore, yet you're building an ecosystem that makes the right choice feel easy and automatic. Even small environmental tweaks have massive impact over time, because when the default behavior is aligned with your goals, you don't have to fight yourself to follow through. But even with the perfect setup, one thing can still knock you off track: stress. Stress doesn't care how strong your systems are. It hijacks your brain, shuts down your willpower, and pulls you right back into the habits you thought you'd left behind. So if you want real, lasting change, you have to learn how to bulletproof your brain against stress. And to do that, we need to understand how stress silently rewires your habits. You've been doing great, waking up early, eating clean, staying off your phone. And then life throws something at you. A breakup, a bad grade, an argument, a deadline, and before you even realize it, you're back to square one. Scrolling, overeating, skipping workouts, staying in bed. Why? Because when you're stressed, your brain stops trying to evolve and starts trying to survive. And in survival mode, it doesn't want what's best. It wants what's familiar. Under stress, your brain releases cortisol, the fight or flight chemical. And when cortisol floods your system, it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that controls decision-making and long-term thinking. This means the part of your brain that helps you stay disciplined, think clearly, stick to your goals, temporarily offline. In its place, your basal ganglia, the habit center, takes over. And what does it run on? Loops, old patterns, the stuff you were trying to leave behind. So now, even if you want to stay strong, your brain is pulling you toward comfort, toward escape, toward anything that gives a quick hit of relief. This is why most relapses happen in moments of high emotion. Not because you forgot your goals, but because stress rewired your brain in real time. You've probably heard the phrase, "It takes 21 days to form a habit." Sounds clean, simple, motivating, and completely wrong. That idea came from a 1960s plastic surgeon who noticed it took his patients about 3 weeks to get used to their new appearance. That's it. No neuroscience, no behavioral data. Just an observation. In reality, forming a new habit is messier and much slower. A study from University College London followed people trying to build a single new habit. Like drinking water after breakfast or going for a walk each day, the average time it took to lock in the habit? 66 days. Not 21, not 30, 66. And for some people, it took as long as 254 days. But here's the good news. It's not all or nothing. You don't have to be perfect every day. What matters most is consistency over time, showing up more often than not. Every time you repeat a behavior, you strengthen the neural pathway that supports it, and eventually that pathway becomes the default. It's just like building a trail through a forest. The first time you walk it, you're pushing branches aside. It's awkward. The 10th time, it's a little smoother. The 100th time, it's a clear path. Habits are the same. The more you walk the path, the easier it gets to stay on it. But here's where most people mess up. They give up right before the new habit becomes automatic. They expect to feel different in 3 weeks. They expect to be a whole new person in 30 days. And when it doesn't happen, they assume something's wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just following a made-up timeline that never had anything to do with actual behavior change. So give it time. If you're building a new habit and it still feels hard, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're still in the construction zone. And the only way out is through. Now that you know how long it really takes, the last thing to understand is this: why people give up even when they're making progress. Why, even with all this knowledge, some people stay stuck for years. And the answer lies in something deeper than habits, deeper than motivation. It lies in how you see yourself. You're not someone trying to get in shape. You're someone who takes care of their body. You're not someone trying to stop scrolling. You're someone who protects their attention. You're not someone trying to be better. You are better because you're doing the work. Every small decision you make is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you say no to your old self, you're saying yes to a new identity. And yeah, some days you'll fall short. You'll miss workouts. You'll sleep in. You'll scroll. That doesn't make you a failure, it makes you human. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never mess up. They're the ones who mess up and keep going anyway. That's what consistency looks like. That's what change looks like. It's not linear, it's not clean, but it is possible if you're willing to play the long game. So if you're watching this and you've felt stuck for weeks, months, even years, if you've been waiting for the right time, the right plan, the right version of yourself to finally appear, let this be your sign. You're already becoming that person, right now. Not through some huge breakthrough, but through small, boring, unsexy steps repeated over and over. That's how real change happens. Quietly, consistently, without applause. The loops that once kept you trapped, you're learning to rewrite them, not with willpower, but with understanding. Not with motivation, but with design. Not by hating who you are, but by becoming who you were always meant to be. And that process, it's already started. If this helped you understand yourself better, or gave you even one reason to keep going, hit the like button so it reaches someone else who needs it. And if you want more deep dives like this, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and be on the lookout for more videos like this.